Neo Moco has finally been released, and with it has come a bunch of new updates. One of the biggest updates to Neo Moco is the weapons. Basically, all the weapons that were in the game before have been completely changed, or there are also new ones to learn as well. So I'm going to go over each one and give you guys some input on what situation I think would be best for each weapon. The first weapon we got up here is the Speed Shot, and this one is a ranged damage weapon. For the complexity ranking, Moco has this one ranked as the easiest weapon out of all of them, and I would somewhat agree that this one is definitely one of the easiest ones to pick up and learn at the start of the game. Whatever weapon you select as well will also have an indicator on how much health you have. The Speed Shot bow will give you 20,000 health. For this weapon, you will get the dash with a cooldown of 2.5 seconds. This will just be really great for mobility and really just keeping your distance from enemies as you're spraying and shooting them. The next attack that we have is Cold Snap. This will shoot out a bunch of arrows at once, firing in an outward motion, and this will slow down any enemies that it hits. This one has a 4-second cooldown, and this one will just be really great to keep enemies further away from you so you can do more ranged damage. The next attack that we have is Reign Supreme, and this one is going to fire a bunch of arrows into the air, and then they're going to fall straight down on wherever the biggest group of enemies is on your map. This one's really great for the area damage, and it has a cooldown of 10 seconds. So this one, you're definitely going to want to make sure you're using it in the right moments so you don't end up wasting this ability when it could be used for a better time. And then the next one we have is Comeback. This one has a 12-second cooldown, and it's just going to give you a little bit of health over time when you use the ability. We also have the main attack for the bow as well, which is going to shoot in a straight line, and it's going to have piercing shots on enemies. This weapon is definitely really great to pick up when you're first getting into the game, and I think this one is a great pick overall just for most situations. This one's going to be a little bit harder to use if you're in a bunch of areas where there's a bunch of swarms of enemies. As long as you're keeping your distance and you're able to get that pierce shot going, that's definitely going to help a lot at getting those enemies gone and then using your area control damage ability as well. This one's also decently good for single target damage with the main attack of the bow. It's not going to be as great as the old Speed Shot bow previously in Moco because this one is not going to have as much single target damage help as the previous one. Next weapon we have is the Techno Fist, and I'm gonna try to not have any bias in this one because this has always been my favorite weapon. I would agree with the complexity ranking on this one. I don't think this one's too hard to pick up, but there are a lot of different ways you can use this weapon. You will also get the dash ability to get away from enemies with this weapon as well, with a 2.5-second cooldown. This one has a complexity ranking of 2 out of 5, and it's also going to give you 20,000 health as well. Now this weapon is a little different, and the abilities will work a little differently than previously. The first ability we have for this weapon is Monster Beat. When you activate this ability, you're going to temporarily give yourself a speed boost and all of the people around you that are on your team as well. This is also going to change the main attack and the way your weapon works. All of the shots that you fire out with your main attack are all going to bounce, and they're going to bounce between 3 enemies before they stop. And once you land 7 shots on enemies, you're going to fire a Mega Pulse Blast. This is going to bounce between enemies 10 times, do extra damage, and stun each enemy that it hits. The next ability that we have is Wicked Solo. This is going to change your attack again, and it's going to help way more with single target damage. When you activate this ability, it's first going to give you an attack speed boost for you and all of your teammates around you. Instead of bouncing now, your attack is going to switch, and it's going to do single target damage to 1 enemy at a time. And once you land 7 hits, this one is also going to do another Mega Pulse that's going to do extra damage and stun 1 enemy. So this is definitely going to be the best option if you're fighting a boss or just 1 enemy at a time. The next ability that we have is Healing Harmony. When you activate this ability, it's going to heal you and all of your teammates around you. This is going to switch your main attack once again. Instead, you're not going to be doing any damage, and you're going to be doing fully healing instead. So instead of targeting enemies, your attack will start to shoot your teammates instead, and it will heal them. After landing 7 hits as well, this one will do another Mega Pulse that will shoot out and heal someone for extra health. The cooldown for all of these is 3 seconds, so it'll be really easy to switch between each ability when you need to. As stated in the description, this weapon is definitely a great all-rounder for healing, single target damage, and multiple enemy damage. Now, if there's massive hordes of enemies, then it's definitely better for a few other options, but the Techno Fist can definitely hold their ground in a lot of different situations, and I would definitely suggest this weapon to a newer player starting. If you're newer and starting the game, it's probably going to be easier to focus on the damage attacks and only heal yourself, but once you get better with this weapon, I would suggest trying to learn how to position yourself and heal other teammates as well. The next weapon that we have is the Lava Shield. This one is for the tank class, and this one has a 2 out of 5 ranking on the complexity, which I do agree with. This one will give you 30,000 health when equipping this weapon. Before we get into the main attacks, this one also has another special ability that will reduce all the damage you take with this weapon by 25%. Now, the first ability that we have is Burst, and this one will basically make you dash forward and do damage to an enemy that's in front of you, or you can just use it as well to dash forward, and if there's not an enemy there, you'll just go in a straight line forward. This ability is basically just great for mobility and will do a little bit of damage alongside as well. And this ability will have a cooldown of 2.5 seconds. Next ability that we have is Magma Plume. When you activate this ability, it will temporarily protect you from all damage, and when you've taken enough damage, it will do a big explosion around you that will deal damage to enemies and stun them as well. This ability also has something else it does as well that we'll get into once we get further on the abilities. Then we have Holo Scream. This one will basically just do a loud noise that will get all of the enemies to follow you instead of your teammates around you. This is an ability I would definitely suggest using right before you use Magma Plume, so you'll have the most amount of enemies around you when that explosion and stun happens. The Holo Scream ability also has a 9-second cooldown as well. Then the last ability we have here is Ring of Fire. This one does not have a cooldown time, but instead it will charge up over time based off how much hits and damage you have taken. When you use this ability, it's going to do a huge flame circle around you that will stun enemies, deal damage to them, and push them back. It will also heal you as well once the ability is used. Now, charging this ability takes hits. So if we jump back to the Magma Plume ability, the other skill that this one has is, since it's protecting you from damage, all the hits you take from enemies while this ability is active will double the amount that the Ring of Fire charges. So when you use this ability, the Ring of Fire will charge up faster than it does originally. And then for your main attack on this one, you just do close area damage right in front of you and slash your sword. This weapon on its own is not going to be doing a lot of crazy good damage, but this one is going to be very good for protecting your teammates, especially in a lot of big situations where there's huge groups of enemies. This one can be used on its own, but I think this weapon really shines when it's protecting other teammates and they're able to use their full amount of damage without having to focus on healing, while this one is taking all of the damage. Now we have the Venom Bow, and this one is also a part of the ranged damage class. This one has a complexity ranking of 3 out of 5, and I do agree with this a little bit because it does have abilities that take a little bit longer to learn than the ones previously. Selecting this weapon will also give you 20,000 health as well. First, this weapon comes with the dash ability, which is a 2.5 second cooldown like the others. Now, the first attack that we have for this weapon is a Lethal Dose, and this one has a cooldown of 4 seconds. When you poison an enemy, they are going to stay poisoned and slowed for 6 seconds. But once you use this ability, it's going to reset that timer for the enemies that were poisoned previously. And using this ability as well will spread the poison to enemies around them. The enemies that were also poisoned previously before the ability was used will take extra damage. The next ability that we have is Purge, and this one has a cooldown timer of 10 seconds. This ability will remove poison from all enemies at once. After it removes all the poison, it will deal heavy damage and will stun all the enemies. And so far, as I've been playing through all the abilities, this one is by far the best one for area control and taking out hordes of enemies. I would suggest using the Lethal Dose ability first to get as much enemies poisoned as possible, and then straight after that using the Purge ability, because then that will get the most damage. The next ability you have is Antidote, and this is another one that doesn't have a cooldown but will charge up over time. Every time an enemy is poisoned, it will charge the ability, and the stronger the enemy, the more faster it will charge. Once you're able to use this ability, it will heal you all the way back to max health. We also have the main attack for the bow as well, which shoots straight forward and does single target damage that will poison enemies. And once you land 4 hits, then it will shoot 3 piercing arrows straight forward. Once you get the hang of this weapon, this one is super great and definitely one of the best at dealing with massive hordes of enemies. For single target damage, this one alone is definitely not the greatest at taking out bosses, but it will do great in worlds where you're fighting a lot of enemies at the same time. The next weapon we have is the Headbanger, and this is part of the melee damage class. This one has a complexity ranking of 3 and will give you 30,000 health. I definitely agree with the complexity ranking on this one because it definitely has some attacks that are harder to land. The first ability this one has is Pit Clearer, and this one will make you dash forward and do a quick spin that will deal damage to enemies. Also, depending on how strong the enemy is, it will charge up your super ability, which we'll get into later. This one also has a cooldown of 2.5 seconds. The next ability is Pogo Thrash, and this one will make you do a jump into the air and land down on an enemy in front of you and do damage. This one is a little bit harder to use at first if you're learning how to use the weapon, but once you get the hang of it, it's definitely a good ability. And this one has a cooldown of 5 seconds. Then the next ability we have is New Wave. This one will make you smash the ground and send a shockwave forward that will stun and do damage to enemies. This is also an attack that will charge up your super ability based on how strong the enemy is. And it has a cooldown of 10 seconds. And I hope I'm pronouncing this right, but the last ability is Medicinal Mosh. This one does not have a cooldown and will be charged based off attacks and the abilities I mentioned previously. When you use this ability, it will make you immune to stuns, slows, and pushbacks. This one is amazing for area damage because you will start spinning in a circle, dealing damage to everyone around you, and you will also heal in the process. This one is definitely a great ability as well for clearing a lot of enemies at once. And then for the main attack of this weapon, you will swing the hammer down and smash the ground. And once you land 3 successful hits, you will do a larger smash that will do more damage, and it will charge your ability for the spinning move. This weapon, in my opinion, is definitely a lot harder to learn than some of the others, but once you get the hang of it, it can be a pretty decent weapon to use. It can be great for doing some single target damage, and it can also be great for doing area damage as well. The next weapon we have is the Vibe Shifter, and this one is part of the healer class. This one has a complexity ranking of 3 out of 5, and I don't fully agree with this one because I think this one is more close to the Techno Fists. I would give this one a 2 out of 5 personally. The only reason I think this one could be a 3 out of 5 is just because it doesn't do as much damage as the Techno Fist, and it's more focused on healing. Selecting this weapon will also give you 20,000 health as well. The first ability on this one will give you the dash, which has a cooldown of 2.5 seconds. Then we have Downward Spiral. This one is going to do a quick spin around attack that's going to knock back enemies. It's going to slow them down and do a little bit of damage. And this one has a cooldown of 8 seconds. I would recommend using this ability just mainly to keep enemies away from you since you are a healer. The next ability we have is called Circle of Love. This one will spawn a flower that will have a circle radius around it, and any of your teammates that are standing in it will be healed. And this one has a cooldown of 16 seconds, so this is one of the longer ones. This one cannot be broken by enemies though, like the one we had in the past in original Moco, so that makes it a little better than the previous one. Then the first main attack we have for this weapon is called Bad Vibes. This is going to be your damaging ability for this weapon, and when you land 7 successful hits, then it's going to do a huge 360 spin around that's going to do damage to all enemies around you. The other main attack for this weapon is the Good Vibes attack. When you use this, it's going to heal you and any teammates in front of you. Landing 7 successful hits on this one as well will do a spin around 360 like the other ability, but instead of doing damage, it's going to do a huge burst of healing. After seeing this weapon, I think it is quite a lot like the Techno Fist with the different abilities you are able to use, but I would almost recommend using the Techno Fist over this weapon because it's also able to do the healing, and you can do more damage with them to keep enemies off you as well. This weapon can still be great though for a lot of different healing if you're trying to heal a lot of allies at once with the spin ability. The last weapon we have is the Zapsicle, and this one is a melee damage weapon. The complexity ranking for this one is a 4 out of 5, and this one will give you 25,000 health when equipped. Now, for those of you who played old Moco, this one is a little bit like the Monster Slugger, but it has a twist. The first ability you are going to have is Bolt. This is going to make you dash forward and do damage to enemies. You are also immune to damage while dashing, and it has a cooldown of 3 seconds. Then we have Certified Zapper. This one is going to electrocute an enemy and it can spread to up to 4 and it will keep a little lightning symbol on them. Any enemy that has this symbol will have their movement speed decreased for 5 seconds. And this ability also has a cooldown of 6 seconds. Now, in my opinion, this is the coolest ability we have so far for a weapon, and this one is called Spider Lightning. Any enemy that you have previously hit and they have the electrocuted symbol on them will be in use for this ability. When you use this ability, you are turned into a ball of lightning and you will literally travel between all the enemies that you have electrocuted and deal damage to them. Once you pass through the enemy, it will remove the electrification from them, and you are also immune to damage during this as well. And this ability has a cooldown of 3 seconds. Then the next ability we have is Shock Therapy. Any enemy that you have electrocuted and they have the little symbol on is also in play for this as well. With this ability, you will remove the electrification symbol from any of the enemies that have it, and it will heal you. However strong the enemy is how much healing you will get. And this ability will share a cooldown with Spider Lightning because it will be removing the electrocution from enemies. This weapon is definitely a little harder to get the hang of, but when you get the hang of it, it is a lot of fun to use. And that is every weapon that has been released to Neo Moco so far. Hopefully this guide can help you learn a little bit more about the weapons and which ones you may like to use more than others. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in Neo Moco. Peace out.